Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is mucking. No, it's not. It's Good Tuesday. Monday was yesterday. We are free from Monday. Don't even think about Monday. Because all we got free today is the good news you need to hear about in all over the world, really. There's good things happening for people, for animals, and for nature. This is Before Coffee, the father and daughter conference news of Planet Earth podcast, where we look up our stories 10 to 15 minutes before we started, and we've just rolled out of bed to find them and read them to you. I'm not going to say, and we haven't had coffee, because somebody starts drinking coffee. And I just had Dr. Pepper, which does have caffeine, so that counts too. Anyway, who cares? God. The concept of the show is in the art of it, okay? Not in the actual literalness of it.
You actually visited the doctor, did you?
Yeah. So let's get into our headlines for today's positive news stories. Today on Before Coffee. After being on the lam for 529 days, Valerie the Dog finally rescued.
Here's Roger in the United States with Good Tuesday, where Canada has rejected fascism.
India slashed extreme poverty to 2.3% in FY23 and shows World Bank data.
Another good news, adding 70 windows to Illinois school improves student well-being, plus a British couple bears fruit from their critically endangered dinosaur tree.
Culture for humanity and beyond. Abu Dhabi Culture Summit debates the future of culture.
And it's National Zipper Day, so zip it up and get ready for another hour of inclusive news and good news on April 29th, 2025 on Before Coffee.
Make sure you have everything zipped up. You don't want to get stuck in public with your zipper down. I've got a new background today. We're at the beach now, here probably in the North Sea beach somewhere. We are going to start looking at some good news. Let's roll our segue wheel so we know what to talk about, what to say, maybe some poetry. Reminds me of a song. Well, do you have a song about lowering the poverty line? Or I guess increasing? Wait, lowering it? People are making more money in India, okay? Not maybe a huge amount of people compared to their actual, amount of people in the country, like billions. But it's still a huge chunk. This is coming off of Business Standard by Ruchika Chitvanashi. Also, hello. Thank you for stopping by for Before Coffee with our cheery duo. We're a cheery duo now. Little do they know we're both stubborn smartasses with cynical points of view. Anyways. India has made a significant progress in reducing poverty, with extreme poverty measured at $2.15 per day dollars. That's $2.15 per day in purchasing power, PPP terms, falling from the 16% in 2011 and 2012 to 2.3% in 2022 and 23, according to the World Bank. The decline lifted 171 million people above the internationally comparable poverty line. In a brief on poverty and equity, the multilateral lender noted that rural extreme poverty in India fell from 18.4% to 2.8%. So only 2.8% of people in rural poverty are in extreme poverty even. So there's still people in poverty, but they're not extremely poor. They're just normal poor. While urban extreme poverty dropped from 10.7% to 1.1%. That's pretty good. But that's typical of cities, right? It's hard to be a poor person in the city. It's way easier to be poor in the country because nobody can see you. You're like, oh, I'm just living in a hut in the middle of nowhere. Nobody knows I'm even here. If I died, no one would find out. I think your mic died. Did I mute you back? No, I think you accidentally kicked your mic when you moved your camera, maybe.
Oh no, I muted myself. When
okay. Well, what were you saying?
Moved my mic. Oh, I forgot.
Just something about living in the middle of nowhere being poor.
No, if you live in the country, you can like eat rabbits or geese you happen to find.
You don't have to go to the store and buy some food, Oh, I can't afford lettuce. It's like, go grow some lettuce. You don't need to afford lettuce. Especially in India. India has some
fruits and berries.
India, in some places, and it's a big country, but some places in India are very fertile. So yeah, you can just eat your own produce. The rural-urban gap narrowed from 7.7 to 1.7 percentage points, translating an annual decline of 16% in this divide. Now, I think their income and shopping purchasing power did increase. It's at 2.15 per day now, which I don't know what it was originally was. They just said it's now $2.15 per day, which isn't a lot. But at least it's something. It's not 15 cents. Like, I don't even know what you would do with 15 cents. Applying the $3.65 per day poverty line for lower middle income countries.
They don't have dollars anyway. Rupees.
Yeah, I think this is just on a U.S. Place. I think business standard is a U.S. place. So they're just talking in our currency so we understand what it means. If they were just saying 500 rubles, I'd be like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that can buy, right? I know what $3 could buy, not a lot. Applying the $3.65% per day poverty line for lower middle class income countries, LMIC, poverty fell from 61.8% to 21.1%, pulling 378 million people out of poverty. Rural poverty at the LMIC threshold dropped from 69% to 32.5%, while urban poverty declined from 43.5% to 17.2%. So this is more of like, I'm poor, but you're not really poor. You don't have a lot of things. You don't have that luxurious extra income where you can go to Disney World or something. Lower middle income, they're still technically in poverty, but it's not extreme poverty. The rural-urban gap narrowed from 25 to 15% points, reflecting a 7% annual decline, the World Bank said. The World Bank's Multidimensional Poverty Index, or MPI, which includes extreme poverty but excludes nutrition and health deprivation, which that is a good point, right? A lot of people are making money. They're also malnourished. We're not going to talk about that in this data. Showed that non-monetary poverty declined from 53.8% in 2005 to 16.4% in 2019-21, and further 15.5% in 22-23. So, what they're talking about there is that this is not how much money they make, but how happy, how easy their life is, right? So it dropped from almost 50% of, I guess, everyone in India or everyone in rural India did not have good food, did not have good water, maybe, couldn't bathe or didn't have doctors, all that kind of stuff. And that kind of poverty dropped all the way to 15.5% of people in rural India now don't have access to that. So it's a really huge improvement. Data on consumption is not comparable anymore since the methodology has changed. There has been a focus on collecting data from independent sources such as Census, National Family Health Survey. All these issues raise questions on poverty decline, said N.C. Saxena, former secretary of the Planning Commission. The World Bank said its poverty estimates for India are based on the 2011-12 Consumption Expenditure Survey, CES, and the 2022-23 Household Consumption Expenditure Survey. Changes in questionnaire design, survey implementation, and sampling in the 2022-23 survey represents improvements but present challenges for making comparisons over time. Moreover, sampling and data limitations suggest the consumption equality may be underestimated. India's 5 most populous states, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh accounted for 54% of the country's extreme poor in 2022 and 23. 51% of its multi-dimensionally poor in 19 and 21. These states contributed 65% of extreme poor in 11 and 12, and drove 2/3 of the overall decline in 22 and 23. So don't live there, I guess? If you live in those places, move. No, I'm just kidding. Poverty estimates will change with revisions to international poverty lines and adoptions of the 2021 PPPs, the bank said. Under a revision, extreme poverty threshold of $3 per day and a lower middle income line of $4.20 per day. That's funny. The 2022-23 poverty rates would be adjusted to 5.3% and 23.9% respectively, it added. The report also flagged persistent wage disparities in India. In 23 and 24, the median earning of the top 10% were 13 times higher than those of the bottom 10%. While Indian consumption-based Gini index improved from 28.8% in 11 and 12 to 25.5, that's not a huge increase, it's only like 3%. In 22-23, the bank said inequality may still be underestimated due to data limitations. The World Inequality Database indicates income inequality has risen, not lowered, with Gini coefficient climbing from 52 in 2004 to 62 in 2023. Unemployment, the World Bank brief said youth unemployment stands at 13.3%, rising to 29% among tertiary education graduates. Only 23% of non-farm paid jobs are formal, while most agricultural employment remains informal. Self-employment is on the rise, particularly among rural workers and women. Despite a female employment rate of 31%, gender disparities persist, with 234 million more men in paid employment. Yeah, it's probably, for some people, it probably is dangerous to leave, like, to work late, so they have less jobs they can do, right? Oh, I can't work after sundown. The report noted, however, that since 21 and 22, employment growth has outpaced the expansion of working-age populations. So, what they're saying here is maybe their data was not as accurate before when they were, in 2004 and 5 when they were talking about these kind of original comparison numbers. So, even though they are comparing those numbers, it's not an accurate comparison. But there's definitely been a decline, is what they're saying. What the actual numbers are is unsure. They can't take their life on the numbers they've calculated. But there's definitely been a decline in poverty in India, at least since 2004. And there's definitely a 7% decline over every year. So it can only get lower, which is good news because you want countries, and especially countries who are considered developing countries, to get stronger and stronger employment base, because then the rest of the world can't bully them and boss them around.
Really. Yeah, definitely. Plus, again, you really can't boss India around because they have nuclear weapons.
But you know what I mean, right? It's just like, we're not going to trade you wood or whatever because you guys suck. I don't know.
Well, that was an important point because you don't want to destabilize your economy by having a bunch of angry poor people. Not that but yeah. And of course, India is one of those growing populations, not a declining birth rate like most countries we cover. Most developed countries, that we call it, in economic powerhouses, are losing population and they need immigration. India is the opposite. They're growing. Anyway, song it reminds me of.
What song?
This ties into a story I just discovered that I thought of last night, which I'm going to add, which won't take too long, which is Cyndi Lauper's song called Money Changes Everything. And
it does.
Cyndi Lauper was just elected into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So.
Oh, nice. I mean, it's always that joke, right? Like, what did Jay-Z say? More money, more problems. But it's like, but your problems are so superficial compared to, oh, I can't eat tomorrow. I'm going to have to make this bread last a week so that I can afford another piece of bread the next week. Like, that's a different problem than, oh no, people are always asking me for money. My life sucks. That's a totally different situation.
Yeah. More money, more problems is more of a young guy's take on it because
Yeah.
he doesn't know how to handle his money. He doesn't know what to do with his money, right?
Yeah.
He just thinks, I know, I have money, I can attract women. And then 5 minutes after he discovers that, hey, I'm attracting the wrong women. Anyway.
I have bread, yes. I do.
right,
I
I guess
do live in a
we'll-
country with a lot of bread, so I do have bread. I like tortillas.
So I'm
on
going to
myself.
add. Okay, so I'm going to add a story, and that's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame story. So
Okay,
I'm going
that's
to do
fine.
that first.
We can talk about that
I'm gonna do that
whenever.
after the Canadian story, Canadian election story. So spin the wheel.
I already did. I have a alliteration headline, so let's talk about
Oh, okay.
what
Two
we're talking.
stories. We have theguardian.com talking about the Canadian elections. So
Oh, right, yes.
Canadians, there's a lot of things. Yeah. Carney and Canadian, we're at 2/3 of the way there. Trump wants to break us, says Carney, as Liberals triumph in Canadian election. Mark Carney used his victory speech. This is from theguardian.com, Leyland Secco. Mark Carney used his victory speech to claim Donald Trump wanted us to break us as he led Canada's Liberal Party to a fourth term in office in a race that was upended by threats and aggression from the U.S. president. The Liberal triumph capped a miraculous political resurrection and marked a landmark victory for Carney, the former central banker and political novice who only recently succeeded Justin Trudeau as prime minister. Justin Trudeau, of course, was basically inherited the position, right? As results early on Tuesday suggested the Liberals fell just short of a majority government and would therefore need the support of political rivals to govern. Yep. So political rivals voted for him. Mirroring the theme of the campaign, Carney told election night supporters that Diaper Donnie wanted to break us so the American can own us, adding that that will never ever happen, to shouts in the crowd. He also gave a stark assessment of a world order once defined by an integrated global trading system with the U.S. at the center, saying such a system was over, and he pledged to reshape Canada's relationship with other nations. So, of course, the United States is on Vladimir Putin's agenda, not Donald Trump's. Don't pretend it's Trump's agenda. Trump is simply being blackmailed. We are over the shock of American betrayal, but we never forget the lessons. Early on Monday evening, as results from Canada's Atlantic provinces and vote-rich Quebec and Ontario came in, supporters at the Liberals event erupted in cheers as it became clear the party would win. Carney praised other party leaders for campaigns that he said had strengthened the country's democracy. Put an end to the division and anger of the past. We are all Canadian, and my government will work for and with everyone. After a narrow victory in the previous federal election, the Liberals relied on the left-wing New Democrats Party to help it pass legislation. Monday's vote appeared likely to produce a similar result with the Liberals and the NDP, the New Democratic Party, together holding enough seats to pass legislation. For the Liberal marks a remarkable recovery from a party that was until recently on track for electoral devastation. Well, you can thank Trump for that, right? Carney's predecessor as a leader, Justin Trudeau, who served as prime minister for nearly 10 years, and as we say, 10 years is a long time. Even the people that voted for you, but half of them are like, I'm tired of this guy. But he ruled for nearly 10 years, but the twilight of his leadership was marked by repeated threats of mutiny, bitter feuding, and fed-up electorate, which, again, he tried to get along with Trump, which never really worked out. Until the end of 2024, internal discussions with the Liberal Party were grim. Under the most optimistic scenarios, they could only hope of holding the Conservatives to a minority government. Outright victory was nowhere on the party's radar. So there's your good news from Canada. We don't have fascists to the north, too. We can do without more fascism, working in concert with the one we got in Oval Office for the next 3 years and 8 months. I'm sorry, 3 years and 9 months. Since these 100 days just passed. You got a headline for me?
Yeah.
All right.
Fascism fatefully fails.
All right, on to the next story. This is good news.
There's no human fascism congruency, okay? They can't exist together.
Yep. And other good news today, we're going to talk about the place we love to rag on is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which once in a while they get it right. It doesn't necessarily make up for all the people they snub or the people they put in. There's like, really? Madonna? Anyway, Madonna sold a lot of records, but rock and roll, she isn't. So anyway, So the class of 2025 we're going to talk about. It includes Chubby Checker, Cyndi Lauper, and Outkast. This is from, this is from CBSNews.com. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees announced. Cyndi Lauper, first time nominee. Chubby Checker. Chubby Checker was never nominated before? I don't think, really? Anyway, Chubby Checker, Joe Cocker, and Bad Company will be inducted in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. A class that also includes pop stars Cyndi Lauper, hip-hop pioneers Outkast, and the rock duo White Stripes, and grunge masters Soundgarden. See, that's why this is good news, because Soundgarden's getting in. Now we just gotta get Alice in Chains in there. Salt and Peppa, the first female rap act to achieve gold and platinum status, and the late singer-songwriter Warren Zevon, another guy that
I had no idea. Zevon. Wow, really?
Yeah. We'll get the Musical Influence Award. The late record producer Tom Bell and pianist Nicky Hopkins. Nicky Hopkins, again, appeared on, if you're a piano on a Who song or a Rolling Stones song, it might be Nicky Hopkins. He was a studio pianist who appeared on, and bassist Carol Kay will each get the Musical Excellence Award. Of course, Carol Kay, just like Nicky Hopkins, if you hear a bass line in anything recorded in Los Angeles in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, Carol Kane's probably on it. Anyway, the late Cocker, Joe Cocker, who sang at Woodstock, was best known for his cover of the Beatles with a little help from my friends, had the, which if you watch the show The Wonder Years, I think it was. What would you do if I sang out of tune? Would you stand? You know, I'm not going to go on and finish it. But Joe Cocker, very distinctive voice. Sounded like a black man singing, but he was an Englishman. Anyway. It's a black guy, right? Anyway, and had the backing of Billy Joel, Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top, and Pete Thomas, a member of Elvis Costello Attractions, who argued that Cocker is about as rock and roll as it gets. Soundgarden, with the late Chris Cornell as singer, got into the Hall in their third nomination. They followed two other grunge acts in the Hall, Nirvana and Pearl Jam. Again, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. I guess Soundgarden was the first grunge band. Alice in Chains, though, was the first grunge band to have a major record contract, but they're still not in the
but they started out like the first few. I guess the first few albums were metal, right? Hair metal or whatever.
No, their first album was metal, but again, it was grunge metal. It wasn't like, you know, the guitar was detuned in half of the songs, so yeah, it's grunge. You know, it's drop D tuning or whatever they call it. Anyway. They followed 200 grunge bands around project. Bad Company get in, having become radio fixtures with such arena rock staples as Feel Like Making Love, Can't Get Enough, and Rock and Roll Fantasy. Bad Company was the first group signed to Led Zeppelin's record label, Swan Song. I had to think of what it was in a minute. The Ahmet Ertegun Award, given to the non-performing industry professionals who had a major influence on music, will go to Lenny Waronker, a former head of Warner Brothers Records, who signed Prince and R.E.M. and had part in records from Madonna, Randy Newman, the Doobie Brothers, Ricky Lee Jones, Paul Simon, and Gary Clark Jr. Okay. Some nominees that didn't get in this year include Mariah Carey, not rock and roll. Fish. I thought Fish got in. I think Fish won the. I thought they won the fan vote, but I guess they didn't get in. Billy Idol, who should be in. Joy Division, New Order, no opinion. Manya, no opinion. The Black Crowes, Oasis, I would say out of that list, Mariah Carey's not a rock and roll singer. Fish, why not? You got Grateful Dead head's got to vote for something. Billy Idol definitely belongs in. He was the one punk rocker that went mainstream, you know. He was a legitimate punk rocker, like a live on the street, bone in your nose punk rocker. Well, he probably didn't have a bone in his nose, but you know what I mean. Chubby Checker's recording of The Twist and subsequent Less Twist, again, are considered among the most popular songs in the history of rock and roll. The 83-year-old has expressed frustration that he had been granted entry before, including telling the AP in 2014, I don't want to get in there when I'm 85 years old. I'll tell them to drop dead, so you better do it quick while I'm still smiling. Well, he's 83, so he beat it by 2 years. Anyway, Lauper rose to fame in the 1980s with such hits as Time After Time and Girls Want to Have Fun, and went on to win the Tony Award for Kinky Boots. Outkast, made up of Andre 3000 and Big Boy, has 6 Grammys and a reputation for pushing the boundaries of hip-hop. The White Stripes, made up of Jack White and Meg White, were the indie darlings of the early 2000s with such songs as Seven Nation Army. There's your Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction stuff. Well, the induction isn't going to happen. They should be telling us when there's going to be an induction or a concert, but they're not. So the article is written by somebody that doesn't want us to have information. So there you go. All those new people, all those old timers getting in. They're still not getting over all the snubs that still exist. Grand Funk Railroad, we did the list about 2 months ago. Why are these people in and these other people aren't? What's going on here? Okay, so where's your headline?
My headline is Rockers react respectively. Rock retains rewards. There you go.
I love listening to you just pull this out at the last second.
It's more fun to do the alliteration as live on air than it is to write it down.
With all the pressure on. All right.
For me, anyways, I like pressure.
All right, then. I won't push you anymore.
Roll the segue wheel for your segue, and we can go to my story. We've got an accurate metaphor simile as we talk about Valerie the Dog. This is from Michelle Butterfield in Global News Canada. After 529 days on the lam, or is it yam? I think it's on the lam, and that must be a phrase, on the lam, Valerie the miniature dachshund has finally been rescued. Valerie, a tiny wiener dog with a pink collar, first went missing in November of 2023, that's a long time ago, after she escaped from her pen on a beach on Kangaroo Island in South Australia and ran off into the bush in the surrounding Stokes Bay. Owners, with the help of locals and staff at Kangala Wildlife Rescue, spent the next 5 days searching for their furry friend before giving up and going home to New South Wales. Well, she's been eaten by coyotes, or I guess not coyotes, what are they called again? Dingoes. Oh, she's been eaten by dingoes. Time to get a new dog. And while lost dogs often capture hearts, Valerie captured international attention as the world watched and waited, following along closely after several sightings were reported in recent months. Ooh, okay, so anyone seen a dachshund running around? No, that's crazy. That can't be Valerie. Valerie has been safely rescued and is fit as well, Kangala Wildlife Rescue announced on its Facebook page on Friday night. So this was actually last Friday, on the 25th of April. Sharing the well-worn t-shirt that once belonged to Valerie's owner was key to her rescue. We were able to rip little strips of it, and we started the process of just adding more and more bits towards the trap site as we went along, Lisa Karen, one of Kangala's directors, said in a video shared on social media platforms, explaining that the final rescue came when Valerie's curiosity got the better of her and she became interested in the cage, which was outfitted with toys, a bed, hidden food, and more clothing from her owners. Eventually, Karen explained, the tiny dog began entering the cage, and at one point sniffed around the hidden food, and they were able to remotely trigger the cage door closing. Knowing the dog would likely be nervous and shy about her time running free, Karen said she put on the now tatty shirt and began to approach the dog, making a slow introduction. She came up, would sniff us, and would just go to her cues until she was completely calm and snuggled up in our laps. It was amazing, Karen said. Late last month, Valerie made global headlines when she was spotted on surveillance cameras by Kangala Wildlife Rescue, still donning her pink collar and alive, more than 500 days after she disappeared. No one thought a little dachshund like Valerie would survive alone in the wild, and more than 12 months after she went missing. Regularly, reports started coming in about a dachshund with a pink collar being seen about 15 kilometers from Stokes Bay. She walked a while. She went on a journey. The Animal Rescue Agency said on Facebook on March 21st. On March 27th, a Kangala Rescue staff member reported a sighting, saying it enabled the team to narrow down the search area, adding they could now feed Valerie and have installed cameras to track her movements. She's looking really healthy, the staff member confirmed in a separate Facebook video. Since her rescue, Valerie care team has been working to build up the dog's trust and strength. Of course, we had her favorite, Karen said, meals first brought to Valerie, roast chicken and her favorite dog food as well. They were the first thing to help her recognize that we were safe and that we were not a threat. She also was wearing a special escape-proof harness to ensure she doesn't manage to run away again. And they did a lot of work to capture her, so they're not going to let her get away. Valerie will soon be reunited with her over-the-moon owners, the team at Kangala said, but first there will be a short period of decompression and relaxation for the small dog. We want to return her to her beautiful owners the best way possible and not cause her any more trauma or stress, because undoubtedly out there at 16 months, she should have gone through a lot. They even did a little, oh wow, that's fun. They had even billboards saying like, please, if you see this dog, bring her home. So we've got Valerie the dog finally reunited with her owners after 500 plus days stuck in the wild. And I guess what they learned here is always have her on a leash so she doesn't run off into the bush. Not getting clawed out by kangaroos, you know. It's a happy story for a happy little dog, and I really have nothing to add. It's just a good, heartfelt story. You're muted again.
All right. Okay. I'm muted again. All right. Sorry. And I guess I'm supposed to have a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
About a wiener dog. Because a dachshund is a wiener dog. So, okay, it's a dog's world, sometimes overlooked, right? It's a dog's world. I don't know.
I mean, she's very small. She's a miniature dachshund, right? So you weren't really gonna...
Yeah, it's a dog-eat-dog world, and sometimes the little dogs get away without being eaten, I guess. The brain is not...
Your brain like functions? Wow. Right? Way to brag.
Basically, barely functions. I mean, it allows me not to, you know...
Alright, the next segue is a non sequitur into your story.
A non sequitur. Okay, we got two stories from Good News Network. And this is from goodnewsnetwork.org. No byline name on it. No reporter's name. It's a short story. Adding 70 windows to Illinois school improves student well-being and performance. Not really a shock, I would imagine. It's like, hey, you could be in a prison or be in a school. All right. An elementary school in Jacksonville, Illinois is bursting through walls, literally, to improve... it's busting through walls, literally, to improve student learning, attendance, and well-being, adding some daylight to depressing classrooms. American schools, especially those designed in the 60s and 70s, were built without windows because people erroneously believed they would be a distraction to learning. But the thinking would today earn them an F grade. That must be Illinois schools. Well, I don't know, my school was built before the 60s. One study by the NRF Institute focused some incredible light on the topic by finding that students with the most daylight in the classroom progressed 20% faster on math tests and 26% faster on reading tests in 1 year. The study confirmed that abundant daylight can actually eliminate classroom distractions and help students focus. Seems like logical common sense to me. I don't know why it takes them so long to figure this out. More recently, a 2024 study showed that students in daylight-rich classrooms score higher in tests and stay more engaged when there is natural light in the school. With funding from Windex, their Windows of Opportunity program transformed the drab windowless school named Eisenhower Elementary by adding 70 windows.
Why did you say to Windex? Did you drink Windex as a kid?
No, because I see Windex profiting from this. Possibly.
Oh, okay.
You know, more schools have more windows have to be cleaned, more Windex sold. There's
I see.
Hence my. Since then, the schools have seen multiple positive effects since installing the new windows, and the results are visually stunning. Windex hopes to sharing the story of Eisenhower Elementary's transformation will highlight the importance of natural light in classrooms and sell, of course, more windows. And, of course, more Windex, which I just brought up. Like another often cited study from University College in London in 2022 that showed students experiencing more well-being with the addition of sunlight. So, there's your story. I got another one. Another 3-minute story. You got a headline? I don't know, what was it? Non sequitur.
Yeah, not really.
Nothing?
I don't remember what your next story is, so I can't non sequitur for you.
Oh, just okay. Well, just non sequitur this one. Anyway, prehistoric. This is from also from Good News Network. Prehistoric and critically endangered dinosaur. All right. Okay. Go ahead. What?
The windows are going extinct and the dinosaur plants are coming back. There you go. Your non sequitur.
That's definitely non sequitur. Prehistoric and critically endangered dinosaur tree bears fruit for the first time in British couple's garden. You see this fruit? It almost looks like a buckeye, like an oak. You know, an elm tree has the buckeyes.
Yeah.
That come out. These are seed pod things with spikes on them. Kind of what it looks like. The green one. One of the world's rarest trees, a prehistoric species that dinosaurs used to snack on, is bearing fruit for the first time after a retired couple planted it in their garden years ago. The Wollemi pines, dubbed dinosaur trees, date back more than 90 million years, where they are thought to have died out with T-Rex. But a cluster of prehistoric conifers was discovered in 1994 in a steep-sided gorge 120 miles west of Sydney, Australia. Saplings and cuttings were sold to help save the critically endangered species, and one was planted at the foot of Malvern Hills in England by a retired couple, Pamela and Alistair Thompson. The couple paid $93 for an 18-inch sapling, which a friend had picked up for her in 2010. Oh, by the way, $93 is 70 pounds these days as the dollar sinks slowly. And they planted it in the garden in Malvern, Worcestershire. I think it's
you don't say the R, you just kind of like... I don't know.
I know, Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Whisker sauce. My cousin calls it whisker sauce. It's easier to say. Now, after years of loving care, it stands more than 13 feet tall. That's pretty tall. Pamela was stunned this spring to discover that a rare tree bearing fruit for the first time. The 75-year-old now hopes the evergreen, which is not a pine, despite its common name, can be propagated to produce seeds which can be used to grow more of the genus Wollemia nobilis. It would be amazing, absolutely amazing, to have seedlings that are propagated from the world's rarest tree. I couldn't imagine being so lucky to do it. I saw a small tree for sale.
Sounds like the story, huh?
Okay.
Story how they found the tree.
The next quote from this person says, I saw a small tree for sale for more than $1,000, which shows just how rare they are. Wollemi pines are... How you pronounce that? Wollemi pines are related to the monkey puzzle trees and bear both male and female fruits, so they can self-perpetuate. The long pendulous fruits are actually the male cone, and the global spiky fruits are the female cones. So what we're really hoping later in the year would be to collect and germinate some of the seeds from it. That would be really something. Pamela and Alistair are opening their garden to the public as part of the National Gardens scheme on May 4th to allow other gardeners to see the special tree. Wollemi pine seedlings can be purchased for delivery to shipping addresses in Australia. They are available in the UK, but quite expensive at the 5 to 6 foot tall. However, they are much less expensive in the UK when ordering fresh seeds on eBay here, but don't get ripped off. But the other online plant nurseries we saw for shipping in the US after searching for the internet for Wollemia nobilis, were all currently unavailable. Yeah, I don't think I'd buy seeds on the internet, because you buy a tree seed and you don't do a DNA test on it, and you wait like 10 years, and it's like, that's just a stinking pine tree. Anyway, those are your good news stories. Wrap it up. I say a hunt for a video, I guess.
I guess the reason why that story is good news, OC, is because there's a tree out there that is as old as the Triassic
Basically,
period. You know, it's a very old tree and it still exists. And this person found seeds, and they can grow it, and it's just a trophy for them. So they're happy that they found a rare tree, and now they can brag about it to all their friends, I think.
Who knows? It might cure cancer for all we know, right?
It sounds like it's existed for a long time. It's just not in Australia.
Anything
in Melbourne.
Anything anything that didn't mutate was already perfect for the planet. You know, it just didn't have to mutate.
Hard for
it just kept to reproduce.
Plants in particular to stay the same, I think, because they're easily affected by their environment, like humans and pollution and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's impressive. It still, I guess, shares a lot of its genetics with its original plant. The magic of nature. Sure. Let's roll the segue wheel. I don't think the article says if anybody's going to study them. I think we're just questioning if they are. I have no clue. Alliteration headline for this next story, which is about
work now.
Culture for humanity and beyond. Abu Dhabi is having a summit. This is on Euronews Culture. The 7th annual Abu Dhabi Culture Summit, which will take place from the 27th to the 29th, so that means it's finishing today, brings designers, artists, and culture leaders from around the world to the United Arab Emirates. The 2025 edition of the summit, supported by the Abu Dhabi Department of Culture and Tourism, will explore culture for humanity and beyond as its central theme, questioning what the cultural landscape of the future could look like. The event will aim to uncover new perspectives as we navigate global technology transitions and build a sustainable future together. Chairman of the Abu Dhabi Department of Culture and Tourism, Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak, said in a statement, "From heritage to creativity, culture is an expression of humanity that connects us through time. This year's theme challenges us to examine how technology has transformed the age-old relationship," said Ernesto Otonar, Assistant Director General of Culture at UNESCO, which partners the summit. Other global partners include Design Museum, the Solomon R, Guggenheim Museum and Foundation, and the Recording Academy. The 3-day event will feature conversations with artists including 4-time Oscar-winning costume designer Colleen Atwood and digital mixed media artist Refik Anadol, known for incorporating data and AI in his work. Experts will also gather for panels on issues like the role of AI in creative industries, culture as an instrument of global governments, and the preservation of rehabilitation and cultural heritage. The annual Culture Summit is part of Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates' increasing efforts to become leaders in global culture conversations. In 2024, the Abu Dhabi Art Fair organized the largest ever edition, welcoming 104 galleries, up to 92 in 2023. Abu Dhabi has been investing in Saadiyat Culture District, with opening of the Louvre Abu Dhabi Museum in 2017 and the long-delayed Guggenheim Abu Dhabi project. "We believe that culture is the building block of any forward-thinking society. We believe it is our principle for our youth," Mohammed Khalifa Al Mubarak told Euronews. So it looks like they're talking about how AI is going to affect our culture in the future, right? The future of human culture when it comes to technology. What will that culture look like after decades, maybe, of AI manifestation, I guess? To say in another way. How will that affect more of that? I wish they had some more information about this. I thought they were going to tell me what people talked about, but instead they just told me it's happening. I was hoping it would be like they talked about this or they argued about that. Let's see. So this is from 6 hours ago on MSN. Experts at Culture Summit in Abu Dhabi discuss AI's impact on art and culture. So this happened today. The Culture Summit in Abu Dhabi hosted an in-depth discussion on the impact of artificial intelligence on art and culture, with experts highlighting AI's growth in shaping and culture production and consumption. In statements to the Emirates news agency WAM, Professor Iyad Rahan, director of Max Planck Institute for Human Development, said that AI influences culture in 2 main ways: by curating the content we consume through algorithmic filtering and news and media. That's the kicker for me. I'm okay with AI when it's like, oh, it's just making these jobs happen quicker and more efficiently, whatever. Like creating AI subtitles. Sure, they're not accurate most of the time, but if you proofread them, you can correct them. and then maybe they can learn from that as well. But the algorithm is what for me gets me, right? This idea that the AI knows better what I want to watch. It decides what I should be watching and what I should like because of my own. Like, I can listen to metal for like a whole week, and my algorithm on YouTube Music will just decide that I love all metal now. Every single thing, you know? But if I only listen to one artist, it's just going to keep playing that artist over and over again, which is just not how humans work, right? Humans don't like patterns. Humans work off patterns, but they don't like patterns. A lot of humans like variety and surprises and pure randomness of the universe. I do, anyways. So when things get too repetitive, I'm like, oh, this is just boring me. Super boring.
Like I said, that's part of being brain dead. You stop inviting new ideas.
Let me just run on this algorithm for the rest of my life. Continuing his quote, and by actively, this is the second way that AI influences culture, actively participating in the creation of culture through AI-generated art, music, and visual works. Rowan said he is interested in understanding how this emerging phenomena is reshaping art, science, and cultural output, while emphasizing the need to manage its risk and maximize its benefits. He expressed a desire to collaborate on the interdisciplinary projects that bring together science and art in joint exhibitions with both creative and scientific aims. Glenn Lowry, David Rockefeller Museum of Modern Art, said, "The Culture Summit serves a global platform for thinkers and creators to engage on the contemporary cultural issues, including AI's impact on museums." Lowry told WAM that museums function on dynamic cultural laboratories where new ideas and technologies can be explored. He said that encourages global cultural exchange and innovation. He cited the concept of the imaginary museum, introduced by André Malraux in the late 1940s, as an early vision of today's digital and AI-driven cultural landscape. Lowry also discussed the work of artist Rafik Anadol, known for his AI-driven pieces. One of Anadol's prominent works, Unsupervised Machine Hallucination, showcased at the Museum of Modern Art, used algorithms to analyze 138,000 pieces from museum collections and generate new artworks blending heritage with advanced technology. He praised Abu Dhabi as one of the most impressive cultural destinations, particularly highlighting Saadiyat Island as a regional hub for artistic and cultural development and reflection on the city's commitment to cultural dialogue. Well, I mean, let's be honest. Imagine going to Abu Dhabi and saying, "This place fucking sucks. Why am I here? Culture. There's no culture." Yeah, you wouldn't say that, would you? Especially when they might have hosted you a hotel to stay in and maybe paid for your trip to go there. Abu Dhabi is a terrible cultural center. Not saying he's he's lying, but you know, I don't expect anyone to say, "I hate this place." When they're in there. They say it afterwards, right, in closed circles. Yeah, Abu Dhabi is a shithole, you know. But this article was by RM and ES. I don't know who that is, but I think that's maybe their or something. It means something. But I think what they're arguing here is that AI can breach this kind of bridge of combining and synergizing our cultures together. And as a globalist myself, who believes that humans are human beings, I know, crazy concept here, and we're not all that different that we need to be putting ourselves in boxes. I think the future of human society will be this kind of synergized culture where you just don't remember even where any of it comes from. Kind of like the chicken, right? There's so many cultures all over this planet where, like, chicken is a very important staple food in our culture, you know? When it comes to Black Americans, Koreans, people in freaking Norway, probably, right? But the chicken originally comes from where? The jungles of China. So if you were to, you know, be a cultural purist, China is the only one can claim the chicken, you know? This is our animal. No one else can eat it. That's not how humans work.
What about Peking duck? Is that Chinese?
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, right?
Duck. That's Chinese.
I'm just saying that's an example of how human culture is not so easily defined, and it's always been synergizing, and us trying to own things. That's my thing. You can't do that. It's just never going to work out in the long term because humans are humans. That's the only thing we share. is that we all came up with
That's a problem with
ideas, and all those ideas relate to all of us. There's a very limited amount of things that another country has come up with that somebody from a different country could never relate to. It's just the human experience is a global experience. Anyway, that's my rant. Give me an alliteration.
Yes. Yeah. And several things I was going to say, but they only stay in my mind for 3 seconds, so I completely forgot them. Anyway, our headline is Abu Dhabi artificial acumen attempted.
There you go.
Instead of artificial intelligence, artificial acumen. AA.
Yeah, that's the easiest one for sure. I
All
feel
right,
like
now we're
alliterations
into
are always
the actual
easier.
I don't know. It depends. This day in history. Oh, we gotta do the
I got
wheel.
your video, by the way.
All right, the wheel time.
Oh, right, yeah, you're right. The wheel.
Wheel time.
The wheel, spin the wheel. We've got a haiku. Oh, I love making a haiku. I guess I'll make 3 haikus. I'll pick 3 things, make 3 haikus.
Okay. We're gonna go back into the mists of time of 1429, where French national heroine Joan of Arc and her troops entered the besieged city of Orleans during the 100 Years' War. And again, I asked the question, when did they start calling it the 100 Years' War? Anyway, it wasn't year 50, I bet. 1770, British explorer James Cook made his first landing in Australia at Botany Bay.
Boo!
James Cook famously, well, you know, he was murdered by Hawaiians when he thought it was okay to just kidnap people, including the king.
Famous asshole dies. Oh no.
Yeah, but he did open a lot of trade routes or whatever. Anyway, 1899, American composer Duke Ellington was born, band leader and pianist, among the most significant figures in jazz history. The Duke, as Stevie Wonder called him, Sir Duke. Sir Duke. Anyway, 1916, about 10,000 British troops surrendered to Ottoman Turks at Al Kut, Iraq, following the 5-month siege during World War I. So the British lost 10,000 troops surrendered. What? Anyway,
don't let the British tell you any different.
Yeah, right. That's like
we have never lost anything.
You guys are getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
The British were getting their ass kicked in Iraq in this day in 1916. 1936, orchestral conductor Zubin Mehta was born in Bombay, which is now called Mumbai, India. 1945, the U.S. 7th Army, and we're talking about the White Stripes and the 7th Nation Army. We're talking about the 7th Army, liberated tens of thousands of inmates at the Nazi concentration camp in Dachau, Germany. So, yep, Hitler's little secret where everybody just said, everybody in the town is like, concentration camp? We don't got a concentration camp. I don't know what that camp is. Of course, the United States starting their own concentration camps, and there's a story I read where the right-wingers who voted for Trump don't want their concentration camps in my town. Put them in that liberal town. No.
Why are we even talking about having Wait, pause. You want a concentration camp? Okay, put this guy in jail.
Yeah. You want a you don't want a concentration camp in your town,
Ever.
but you want them to exist. The same thing as prisons, anything. It's like, oh, we need more prisons. Okay, we're building one down the street from your house. What? Anyway.
Yeah, the only answer you should ever have to concentration camp is burn it down. That's the only thing you should ever say.
Right. I would just definitely a militia just to tear these things down. Just have a coordinated attack on one night. Anyway, 1954, comedian Jerry Seinfeld was born. His television show Seinfeld was a landmark in American pop culture in the late 20th century. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. The show about nothing, they probably proclaimed. 1991, a tropical cyclone struck Bangladesh, killing an estimated 140,000 people and causing 10 million to lose their homes. It's like the population of Wyoming being wiped out in one day. 1992, riots erupted in Los Angeles in response to the verdict of highly publicized trial of
Oh,
four white
shit.
Los Angeles police officers who were acquitted in charges of relating to the 1991 beating of Rodney King, a black motorist who had resisted arrest. So more people died because of a stupid jury that said, "Whoa, the cops, they meant well where they're clubbing that guy. They're cops. They can't be criminals. What are you saying there?" Of course, the initial mistake there was to move the trial to Simi Valley, which is in a different county than Los Angeles County. It's in Ventura County, and it's full of white people. So that's where they held the trial. In 2015, what was thought to be the lowest attended baseball game in Major League Baseball history, the Baltimore Orioles defeated the Chicago White Sox 8-2 at an empty Camden Yards in Baltimore. The game was closed to the fans because of rioting in the city following the death of an African American who was fatally injured while in police custody. Yeah. They had a general curfew. 2015. I actually drove through the city as I was working in Pennsylvania at the time. I drove through Baltimore every day during that. No, around Baltimore, not through it. Anyway. In 2018, on this day, the TV animated series The Simpsons aired its 636th episode, surpassing Gunsmoke to become the longest-running scripted primetime show in the United States. And that was 7 years ago. It's still on. So there you go.
When are they going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if we're going to add freaking Mariah Carey in?
Madonna. Yeah.
They have songs.
The Simpsons. My prediction is The Simpsons will only go off the air when some of the main voice actors, pass away.
Oh, okay.
Like, say, Dan Castellana or Nancy Cartwright, who does Bart, Dan Castellana. See, they've been on so long I know the voices, even though they're not even famous people otherwise. Nancy Cartwright is the voice of Bart Simpson. Dan Castellana is the voice of Homer. Marge is Julie Kavner, used to be on Rhoda, played Rhoda's sister. Who else? Lisa Simpson is an actress. What's her name? She was inside Herman's head. I can't think of her name. I can't think of her name, but I know I can picture her. Anyway, The Simpsons, still on the air. They've been on since '89. Long time ago. All right, this day in history, April 29th, featured event. 2011, British royal wedding, and this day in 2011, Prince William of Wales, second in line to the British throne, married his longtime girlfriend, Catherine Middleton. Lavish ceremony broadcast to millions of television viewers. Of course, Prince William is now first in line after his daddy. Our feature biography, Hirohito, the Emperor of Japan, born on April 29th, 1901, so he turns 124 today. He died, he got to be 87, one of your so-called war criminals of World War II that escaped punishment and lived to be 87 because they forgave him. Oh, you was the emperor. He didn't really do anything. Oh, wait a minute. I thought they were a representation of God on earth. Why is he not being held to blame for everything Japan did? Like the rape of Nanking,
Well, did they get the generals at least?
Yeah, well, of course, right? But I'm just saying, why is the guy who's ahead of the whole thing blameless? It makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I don't know. Yeah.
Other birthdays today, Willie Nelson, who I wish I'd known it. We might have done a video of Willie Nelson today. Willie Nelson turning 92 today and still touring. Happy. Many, many more, Willie. Happy birthday, Willie. 1938, Bernie Madoff's birthday. Bernie Madoff, American con man and criminal who died in prison. We always covered Jerry Seinfeld. Daniel Day-Lewis' birthday today, British actor, one of the best actors. Born in 1957. And Michelle Pfeiffer, born a year later in 1958. Michelle Pfeiffer, American actress. And those are your days, your birthdays and stuff. Other days today, it's National Shrimp Scampi Day. Shrimp Scampi, which is shrimp with a lot of noodles and stuff, and probably Parmesan cheese or something. I'm not exactly sure to make it. I usually just eat shrimp. I don't have the patience to put them in a dish, unless it's like a stew or something, and it's those tiny shrimp. Anyway, National Shrimp Scampi Day, National Zipper Day. National Zipper Day. The zipper was invented, I imagine, on this day. National Peace Rose Day. So a peace rose looks like it's a multicolored rose.
And why is it called a peace rose? I don't know, but it makes a good tea. Supposedly. A fruitful garden rose, addition to your
Probably
garden.
the light yellow to large cream-colored flowers. Yeah, they're multicolored. It's a light yellow to large cream-colored flowers, and the peace rose has slightly flushed crimson-pink petalages. It's a hybrid tea rose that is hardy, vigorous, and highly resistant to disease. All right, way to go.
Yeah,
There's
just
some good
like
news for you,
peace, resistant to disease. Wait a minute.
Those are your spins of the wheel, your days, your nonsense, your mispronunciations, and your good news for Good Tuesday News Day. Today, April 29th, 2025 on Before Shrimp Scampi.
All right, I have 4 haikus for you because I didn't know the riots happened, so I added that one too. The Shallow's gates swing wide, a new chapter unfolds slow, healing starts to bloom. Millions watch in joyful tears, the world's eyes on this pair. Love's beauty touches hearts still. Rodney's voice still echoes, beaten, brutal, broken man. System fails its test. Gone are cumbersome times, fumbling with anxious hands. Now we swiftly move. That's for the zipper, instead of,
Okay, yeah.
Swiftly we move our zippers. Because it's the, whatever, anniversary of the patent for the zipper. Somebody was like, I've invented this amazing thing. No more arthritis for you. But there we go. We have all our days. There are no international UN observances today, but it is still, what again, guys? World Immunization Week until the 30th. So if you know anybody who doesn't believe in vaccines, slap him in the face from me. I'll be arrested for that. Get immunized. Don't spread diseases or viruses to your fellow people because it really doesn't hurt anybody. It only improves everybody's life. So, yes, we will see you tomorrow for a Wacky and Weird Wednesday where we'll cover all the weird and wacky things that are going on in the world this week. I'm sure there'll be animals. I'm sure there'll be people doing weird things with animals. And smuggling. There's always smuggling rings happening at airports. I don't know why they keep doing that. This has been everyone. Finishing with this. Allison from the Netherlands. Roger from the East Coast of the US. We will see you. Take care of yourself. Drink water. And here is our Sydney Lauper mic drop moment.
But is it emotional at the end of a night thinking,
I love Graham Norton. He's my favorite host of all time.
I don't
in
think
history.
like that because I'm usually
He should go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right.
Now, if you
Put everybody in.
you told all these people that to come, and if you suck, it's your fault. So, oh my God.
You feel that before every show?
Don't you? No, you don't. You're an actor.
I get many takes. So it's not the same sort of high wire actors as if you're doing a play, where you feel a little bit of a butterfly, but I look at it as an athlete. I'm ready to play. I'm excited to be on the field.
Don't you have to be an athlete to do everything anyway?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I work 5 hours before I even get there with all the PT, and that takes an hour. And that's just physical therapy. And then maybe you want to do the yoga, the weights. Then there's the hour and a half of singing,
yoga.
And then you go to sound check. And then you got to sing a little more so you don't get all frozen, And then after you come out for sound check, you got to warm back down again. Maybe get on the bike and eat as fast as you can because soon it's going to be hair and makeup. And,
you can't eat after hair and makeup.
Honestly,
See, Cyndi Lauper is rock and roll.
Yeah,
she's
Montreal was the first.
rock and roll.
gig.
She's more of
And I'm always sitting there going, oh, God. Okay, you want to play an arena, good for you. You better do good. And I was so shocked because they came out and, Graham, they were filled up to the rafters. And then I started to cry.
Wow.
Because I couldn't believe it. But I knew that, I remember what Michael Jordan always said. I had a boy, so I was always watching all the sports shows.
Her inspiration,
and all the
Michael Jordan.
documentaries on sports. So, and he always said that this may be the only time people ever see you. So make sure it's your best. And before
That's
I
a good
go
point,
on,
right?
I take a deep
I
breath.
I remember
and I say,
seeing Cyndi
okay,
Lauper that one time and
you
whatever.
think you can't do it, but you can.
It was
And
amazing.
also, just be who you are right now.
Or you can
and
do the
so
Bob
what?
Dylan thing and
You
say,
don't
yeah,
have a
they'll come back
Superman
and see me.
cape
I'll do
and you
whatever I
wanna be
want.
Superman, but you're not. You're just
That's how I feel about
So
BTS
again,
when they
you
do a
let go
concert.
and
They do
just
genuinely
hold
feel
that
like they're doing it
spirit.
for
You can
that
ride
one
the
person who's
spirit.
only going to
And
see
also,
him
look,
one
all
time
those
in their
people,
life.
they love you. They've come to see
That's why
you.
their
They're
shows are
seeing
so
you while
good.
they can. So,
Yeah, but you want to be
You
good.
actually put
Yeah,
on
so
a show
there's
for
that.
people.
Legitimately, your
I
only,
don't want people going, thank
only
God,
actual
that was a
job.
farewell.
Think about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.